Hey SEOs and content marketers, say goodbye to crazy spreadsheet mashups and experience unprecedented connectivity between your SEO planning and reporting data. Introducing Audience Key, technology for keyword mapping, content brief automation, and rank tracking that form an SEO strategy system providing unparalleled feedback loops between planning, reporting, and optimization activities. Put your time and energy into strategy, not data upkeep. Visit audiencekey.com and apply for a free trial today.
Hey everyone, welcome to Webcology here on WMR.fm. It's the 9th of November, 2023. This is Jim Hedger from Digital Always Media and Kristine Schachinger from Sites Without Walls. And actually, Kristine is in San Diego at Brighton SEO. It's Brighton SEO has come across to start doing conferences in America. Its first one is in San Diego. Kristine's there. Kristine, how you doing? How's San Diego?
Doing great. I love San Diego. Plus, living in the desert, it's nice to be around water for a little bit. But San Diego is such a nice town. It has a great vibe. You know, it's I was staying in the downtown area by the Gaslamp District last night at the Hard Rock, and we're right over a festival that's going on. So that was really cool. So it's a really quaint, nice area. Everyone's super friendly. So.
Yeah, I like downtown San Diego. I like quite a bit.
Yeah.
And then the gaslight area, is that what it's called?
Gas lamp.
Gas
and it
lamp.
literally has gas lamps. Yeah, that's why I call it the gas lamp.
Old Town is a beautiful, beautiful part of the city. More importantly, Brighton's there. San Diego is sort of sitting in for Brighton, UK. The conference just began today, but you got there last night. A bunch of others got there. How's the vibe? How's it feel?
Oh, great. Actually, it feels like old school SEO, which I miss. So, you know, everybody was there hanging out, having a good time, meeting each other. People didn't know each other, introducing themselves. They had a nice event for us when we got there. It was a VIP event, a VIP speaker, stuff like that. They fed us, they gave us drinks. Everyone was super friendly. People from Brighton are awesome. And I have to say also, in the lead up to this, Brighton people are one of the most organized conferences I've ever worked at, spoke at. And not that the other ones are not organized, but just that these are like, you know, here's your list of this, here's your list of that, here's all your links, here's where you need to be, here's how you get your badge. Like everything has an email, and I know where it is, and I know how to find it. And so it's been really nice. It's been a great experience so far. So.
Well, my litmus test. Do they have a press room?
You know, I actually didn't ask because we were so busy last night with events.
Well, so, okay, you were at events. What happened last night?
Well, there were several different types of events, but I went to the Wix dinner. It was a Wix invite only dinner, but it was probably about 100, 150 people there. And they gave us such a lovely meal. We had options of like steak and salmon, and they had vegetarian for, you know, people who don't eat meat. And the meals are gorgeous, like just beautifully plated. And then they had a free open bar like the whole time we were there. So I think that was 7 to 10 or later.
That is old school. Thanks, Wix.
That is old school. Yeah, and then no drink tickets. Just here you go. What do you want? And the nice, like really nice made drinks. They had a whole list of them. And then I asked the guy, "Is there anything else we can have?" He goes, "You can make anything you want." I'm like, "Oh, this is old school." So, and it was lovely to see Morty. I actually didn't realize I had never met Morty in person until yesterday. So we talk so much online, and you know, I've done a little work for Wix, you know, writing for them, and he's just such a presence that I just didn't realize I had not met him in line until I met him in person. So I saw him like, oh wait, we have never met in person. So that was great. He was full of wonderful energy. Crystal was there. She was so nice. So, and much of the Wix staff was there. People that, you know, work in other areas outside SEO, so people wouldn't know who they are. But they were just all great. Everyone was really friendly and nice and open and welcoming. It was really, really nice dinner.
Well, nobody in the conference circuit will let you anywhere near their actual attendance numbers. What's your gut sense tell you? How many people showed up?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I haven't seen the whole conference.
Okay.
But the event, just like the Wix event the last night, I told you probably had at least 150, and then there was other like 2 or 3 other events, and those were more open. So it's definitely well attended. I don't know how well attended yet, so I go to the talks and see how full the rooms are, but It definitely looks well attended. So
When SES used to hit San Jose, for a 4 block radius around the conference center, you would just see SES stuff,
yeah,
SES people, SES groups
yeah,
of people. Do you get that around the conference center in San Diego?
yeah. I mean, it's not as like that was a much bigger conference back then. I don't think they're that big at this point, but yeah, definitely. You walk around and you see different SEOs walking in and out, and the Hyatt's located right down on the water, and like someone's doing kayaking in the morning with a group. They got them together, and then you go across the way, and there's some restaurants and stuff. So I suppose at lunch it's going to look very much like that because they don't serve lunch at the conference, so there's so many restaurants around. You just go to the restaurants nearby.
It's good to see the large scale conferences happening again. It's wonderful that Brighton is testing the waters over on this side of the water. I really hope this event goes well. You're speaking at it. You're on today or tomorrow?
Tomorrow at 4:15, I am, of course, I've already spoken by the time this goes on air, but I'm speaking in a block. So they do blocks that each has a 20-minute portion.
Hmm?
And then, so I'm speaking with Max Prin and Sean Huber. And I don't think I know where either is working right now because they've changed a couple of times. But they'll be talking after me. So I'm the first one up. So I better stick to my time. Because
Well,
I hate when you're like the last one up in a 60-minute block and the other two people took 20 minutes of your time. So
oh yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
What's your topic?
uh, SEO technical audits, how anomalies are your friend.
Right on.
So like you and I both know how you go into an audit. Sometimes there's just this weird piece of data or this weird thing, and maybe five other internal people have told you that we've looked at everything, and you go, but did you look at this one thing? And then you find out it leads to a whole massive bunch of issues. And so I'm talking about that and just giving some real world examples, of course, white labeled because I can't say what the clients were.
That's really cool. I mean, the same thing happens when you're monitoring clients. If you've done work for a client, you have them on a long-term contract. Look for those anomalies because they could point to a bigger. Now, sometimes doesn't even have anything to do with SEO, but you're the cool one who pointed it out to them.
Well, and my biggest one, I won't get into all of it here, it's too long a story, but basically there was the fourth most traffic term were 4 letters, and it had been on there a while, and nobody seemed to know what the product would be related to that. So we started digging, and it turned out they were had a security vulnerability that allowed them to be exploited by a porn site, which led us to find that they had 20 years of people exploiting their site because of the vulnerability, and that their site search created dynamic pages where all the terms went into the title, the meta, the H1, and the URL. And
Oh my!
so yeah. So and they had the really odd thing though, because this is why I say anomalies, is they had been written up by Dark Tangent, who runs Black Hat and DEF CON like a decade before I was on the project about the vulnerability. They were fined by DOJ 5 years before I did the project for the vulnerability, and the vulnerability was still there. So that led to being all shut down. So it was good. It was interesting.
If Webcology were Reddit, somebody by now would have identified who the client was just by researching the information given. Right?
The vulnerability is not covered under the NDA because it is public information. But I'm not going to say what it is right here or the client.
And it ended up that was going on for like 20 years, for 2 decades.
Yeah. Also, the
Phenomenal.
site search, because when the developers first created the site, they didn't want to have to create pages, so they made the site search create all the pages. But unfortunately, they were selling lots of things on the site that they probably didn't want to sell, and it was a React site, so they didn't have any knowledge that the pages existed. And little key tip to anyone with a React site: when you make a page, log the page that's created. So if anyone does ever attack your site, you know what pages were created because we had no idea. Yeah. So it was fun. It was a very big. I should write it up as a case study sometime because it's very interesting how that went down.
It's the little things that get you, or that you find the big.
Yeah.
It's the little things that help you find the big things that get you.
Exactly.
Okay, speaking of big things that get you, this is a claim. This is a great claim. According to a piece in Search Engine Journal today, Google is claiming that work on Core Web Vitals, all the work that we've done, everybody in the listening audience and all the SEOs and everybody who's paid attention to Core Web Vitals, all the work we've done making things faster has saved, get this, over 10,000 years in load time.
10,000 years.
Don't remember,
Although I can't believe
10,000 years.
it.
That's 2 eons. I'm sorry, that's 10 eons of time.
Yeah, that is a lot of time. I think the threat of it, or the encouragement that it would lift your site, and it never has. I don't know if it will maintain that. It will stay that way because people just will stop caring, I think. But it is interesting how they manipulated all that in a good way, because the sites needed to be faster. So, and probably saved them. I wonder how much 10,000 years of time saves you in resources and costs.
A lot, I would think. A hell of a lot. Given that Google is constantly going back and reloading pages over and over again, or re-rendering pages over and over again, the faster it can do this, the less resources it has to use. That 10,000 years, it just gives you kind of an idea of the scale of the web. Core Web Vitals has been around, so we'll say 2 years now.
I think a little bit more, but yeah.
Okay, 3 years now. Just again, 10,000 years in load time. The scale of the web is phenomenal.
Oh yeah, and they've
and
only gotten. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, the funny thing is, most sites don't even meet Core Web Vitals path metrics.
Over half. So I guess that's 20,000 years of load time. So it's interesting though, because I do hear from clients though, and people that they're kind of like, why do I bother with this? Because the benefits for Google, like it's also for the site, but the site owner doesn't really get how LCP can increase their traffic and stickiness and revenues very easily. It's hard to get them to understand that. So Google probably needs to add in some real reward thing to it, as opposed to, yeah, it's going to help you. Well, maybe not, because like Gary came out 2 weeks ago. It's not going to do much for you.
Well, maybe we want to look at other sets of metrics. I don't know for sure. I haven't done this. I don't tend to really pay a lot of attention to the revenues on various items my clients are making. I pay a lot of attention to traffic to various pages. The revenues, that's their problem. But I'll bet you there's a correlation between stronger revenues and faster loading pages.
There definitely is. They've proven that.
So what are you getting out of improving Core Web Vitals? Well, you may or may not be getting a great benefit at Google. You may or may not be getting that, but you are probably improving your conversion rates, and you're helping save the world. Like Kristine said a few minutes ago, how many resources are saved if a Chrome browser loads a page that much faster?
Yeah, very true. And I'm not saying that it's not important to have them on your site, but I know when you talk to owners or C-level or directors on other parts of a company, they're not getting that correlation, even when you send them like the data that shows the correlation, because it's just, it's all geek talk to them.
Well, so, simple. You spend $5,000 over here, you see $25,000 over there. That's all.
Yeah, but then you go, but that's because you made your LCP this much better, and they're like, what? And their eyes roll in their head.
It was easier to get through the front door.
The thing I can tell them though, and this is just a theory, but I've seen the direct action, is I had a client site was 100% on everything CWVs going into CWVs, like the first time they launched it. And he was there and he was doing great, and he got a little boost from the CWVs. And then he put on a new ad network, which was his favorite thing to do. He had an ad addiction. And I added 14 ads to the page. And within 2 days, they lost like 40 to 60% of the traffic.
Okay, well, that mightn't have anything. That mightn't have anything to do with Core Web Vitals. It might have everything to do with craptastic UX. But the only thing that's tested every day are the crux on the Core Web Vitals, right? So I've seen that multiple times, because we'd fix it, and then I wouldn't work with them for a little bit, and then they do it again, and it'd go down, and they fix it. And I've asked other people, and they see the same thing. But Google would never admit there was a devaluation, because it would be so easy to attack other websites if there was. But I do think there's a devaluation factor. Well, in that. I can tell you straight up that with a really important e-commerce client at this time last year, so we're talking 2022, not this time 2023, this time last year, we were going into Christmas. So maybe it was a couple weeks before now last year. We were going into Christmas, and I had to make a choice. Where are we going to throw our dev energy? Are we going to throw it into improving schema so that there would be the results that were coming up would look fuller, richer, and, show a greater array of stuff to get more eyeballs? Or should we throw it into core web vitals, into site speed, and to stopping pages from dancing around as different elements load?
Yeah.
I figured our rankings were our rankings, that we were where we were going to be for going into the holiday season, especially going into Black Friday and Cyber Monday, which is coming up awfully quick, folks. And I threw the energy into improving speed, into improving schema, so that the result sets would at least have more information going into them. And we lost ranking to a competitor going into the holidays. And I really wish I'd thrown energy into core web vitals. And I can't say that will work the same way in 2023.
It just makes me sad. We were just doing page speed, and a lot of SEOs didn't do it because they heard it was a tiebreaker, but they didn't realize it was a tiebreaker at the query level. So when it's a tiebreaker at the query level, it's how many queries it can serve, lift. And on some of my sites, it was a heck of a lot of queries that could be lifted. One site was 250,000 visits overnight. But page speed was hugely impactful. And CWVs are not. It just makes me sad because I miss being able to look, we improved your page speed and you got a lot of traffic. And then you have people staying on your site and you're getting better revenue. Now it's maybe you'll get a boost, maybe you won't. I don't know, because Google may or may not decide it's important. So, but it's interesting, the difference.
If the rule is the page must be crawlable, or the content means nothing. If Google can't read it, it doesn't mean anything.
Exactly. That's
if the page is crawlable, the content's got to be very, very good, at least better than its competitors. If the competitor and your content is, relatively the same, because how many ways can you describe blue widgets? Then the quality of the experience on your page will make a big difference if your competitors don't have such a good experience. And this is what radically oversimplifying. There's 100,000 other factors that go in. But if you're thinking in order of operations, crawlability first, like the technical SEO has to be down, or Google isn't seeing all that great content to begin with.
Well, yeah, it's totally true. I mean, I see people online will run these polls. What's more important? Content, links, technical? I say technical is always first most important, because it's not that it's most important over everything else. It's an equal partner, but it's the first most important, because if Google can't crawl, index properly, and interpret your pages, your intent, your link values internally, then the rest doesn't matter, right? So it's always equally important, but first most important to do. Make sure your technical is taken care of.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, one of the ways you can tell, that's a terrible segue, but I'm going to go for it anyway. One of the ways you can tell if your technical is up to par or not is checking the, in Search Console, you used to be able to check the page experience overview screen. Was that crap? That was a crappy segue, wasn't it?
No, that works, but the GUR is why do they hate us so much? I'm just teasing.
You know what?
Why do they take the data away? That is that little graph is the easiest way to get a client who doesn't understand how any of this works to do something. Removing the graph with the impression. Now they have the graph still in the sub pages, but they removed the impressions portion of it. So the impressions part was the best part, because you can see see how many more impressions you got when you were better and how fewer you got when you were slower, but that's not there anymore. And it's why take it away, Google?
Well, because honest to goodness, they didn't take anything away. They just took away the overview, the overview screen. It was all that information is still accessible.
No, impressions aren't there.
But you can get impressions by going to performance.
No, I mean impressions compared to your CWV.
Oh, compared to page, compared to page experience, certainly.
Yeah.
how many impressions they're showing up based on their
Number of good
um,
pages. Yeah.
vision of your UX. That is true. That's gone.
Yeah.
But all the rest of the information, this is Google trying to save money by closing a room in the hotel. Basically, they don't want to pay for the heat, so they've shut off the vents, and they don't want to pay for cleaning, so they just don't let anybody go into it anymore. All that information is still there. They're just not presenting it in this overview format, and now you have to poke around and find it. But the mobile information, that's still there. Core Web Vitals information is still
It's just
there.
not presented well anymore, though. It's not an easy presentation to just give to a client. Now I have to
Yep.
do more work. And it's just, and the reason they said they're doing it is because they didn't want people to misinterpret or something. I'm like, well, how about you just leave it and let us decide that instead of you making a decision for it. So,
Well, indeed. I think this is them honestly trying to cut costs by closing a room in the hotel, just barring off that section. And again, it's not like they're not giving us the info anymore.
well, except for that impressions, but yes, it's true. It's just true.
Speaking of not giving us the information, so Google made a breathless and happy announcement that the search generative experience is going to be expanded to 120 new countries.
Not yours.
Not mine or any country in the European Union. So Canada and the EU are still shut out of Google's search experience. The EU over privacy and copyright concerns. Canada, because Google's in an argument with the Canadian government, basically. So Canadians are being punished by not having access to news via Google or Facebook, and now not having access to the search generative experience. Now, that may be good, that may be bad, that may or may not improve our relationship to search results, but it's a set of tools that, the rest of the world has that we don't. And again, same with Germans and people in France and people in Poland and people in Norway and now in Sweden. Haha.
I'm telling you though, you're just saving your sanity.
Sorry?
So I'm half teasing, but when they first came out, I signed up for it right away, and it took me about 2 weeks to be totally irritated with the automatically generated content at the top of every search that I did. Well, most every search, not every search, because I didn't need it, and they don't let you collapse it, so I have to scroll down, and sometimes as much as like 1,200, 1,500 pixels to get to a blue link. I was like, I don't need what's in this box. I can't collapse it. You automatically generated it. So back about a month ago, they started experimenting with a small box at the top to turn it on if you wanted to, or a small box with a few lines of text and do it if you wanted to. And that wasn't as annoying, but now they're back to rolling it out. So I had one search I did where I measured the pixels, and it was literally 1,200 pixels of SG automatically generated content with no way to collapse it. And it's like, at least put a collapse button in. I don't use this content. I don't like it. I don't like how it's presented. It's very awkward and difficult to understand. Now they got little drop downs in the middle of it. And it could be wrong because it's an LLM. So just let me collapse it. Just put a collapse button in so I don't have to look at it, but they don't do that. So you're really saving your sanity not having to show up every time you do a search in Chrome. I actually literally switch over to other browsers during the day because I just get so tired of it.
Well,
it may just be me. I mean, other people may love it. I just don't love having 1,000 lines, 1,000 pixels of text thrown at me when I do a search. I just want to do a search and decide what I want to see.
On the bright side, Kristine, your search generative experience and everybody else's is powered by Bard. If you were at Microsoft at Bing, you'd have a AI enhanced search experience that was powered by OpenAI's ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm.
If you're over at Twixter, though, you are soon to meet a AI named Grok, who well, I've not met Grok yet, but he's coming.
I've chosen not to.
And I don't know if I'm going to want to hang out with him for long because Grok is going to be trained exclusively on Twixter content. which,
Oh my gosh.
which contains a bunch of amazing stuff that was put up by some radically wonderful people over a decade of Twitter's existence, and also some pretty vile racist disinformation related stuff that's been put up in the last, well, actually for as long as Twitter's
Yeah,
existed, but really
yeah.
accentuated in the last couple of years.
So according to Business Insider, their title for an article, Elon Musk new AI chatbot sure sounds like a foul-mouthed Twitter troll. And I'm pretty sure, because one of the things that OpenAI did that was so revolutionary is they, quote, solved the Nazi problem. And that is the problem as we know, when Microsoft put their little bot online and in 2 days was a racist, hateful, horrible, thing, they had to take it off. And what was it, 42 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours?
Easily within 2 days, yeah.
Yeah.
It had gone full racist.
Now, OpenAI exploited labor in other countries and paid them very, very, very little money to see very disturbing content. And that's a whole other discussion on itself. But they did remove the Nazi, hateful, all that content for 99%, 99 more percent of the times. But since Musk is just training it on Twitter, well, good luck with that. He's not scrubbing the data. So it said Elon Musk has its personality is a foul-mouthed Twitter troll, because Insider had a look at it already. So. Anyway, sorry, I didn't interrupt. One last thing. So the company said Grok had a rebellious streak and would answer spicy questions other AI models would reject. There you go.
A rebellious streak. See, the Grok does not have a rebellious streak. It doesn't.
No,
it does what it does what it's
stand on garbage
programmed to do, which is regurgitate the most likely set of characters, answers, concepts, or words based on the data set it was trained on. It just happens to be trained on, and not a rebellious, but a revile set of.
Yes.
Oh, that's awful.
And then, by the way, there is a hashtag.
Language is important here. Newsweek or Business Insider.
There is a hashtag GROKTHOTS, Grok Thoughts, where they're posting some of the stuff that it posted. And I actually can't read this post. Somebody posted one of their bad ones, because I would just have to bleep like 30% of the words here. So
yeah, please.
Yeah. Is it all right? You asked for it. The real answer is that it's a bleep, 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 and everyone's got their own bleep, bleep, and on when to start jamming to Silent Night. This is about Christmas music being played early.
Oh, well, in that case, I totally agree with it. What's he talking about, Mariah Carey? He's indeed.
So that's how it's going to answer you. And they told the person to, if anyone gives you a hard time, they use different words, for your early Christmas music listening, you can shove a candy cane up your bleep bleep.
Well, you can do that, but don't use a hashtag before bleep bleep, because you won't be able to recall what bleep bleep meant. Twitter, Musk is talking about taking hashtags out of tweets. Isn't that sort of the heart of Twitter's memory system?
Yeah, so, well, partially, but back in the early days, like when I wasn't even one of the early users, that was 2008, 2009. When you went to Twitter, you posted something. There was nowhere to see where it posted. There wasn't a feed. I was like, where do I know what to look for this, right? So you put a hashtag on it and you could go find all the people that were posting to a topic. Because that was the only way to find it. Because Twitter originally, the way it was built, was just very minimal viable product. And that's how it launched. So that's how hashtags started. But as you and I both know, they're ubiquitous, iconic part of culture now. And hashtags are used in ads. They're used to, get people to surround a thought or idea or a movement. So, everyone knows the hashtag, whatever it happens to be, and you just say it and everyone knows what you're talking about. And one of the biggest complaints people have about Threads is there's no hashtags. So Threads is almost an identical clone to Twitter most every other way, but it's missing some other things too, but it's missing hashtags. And now they're going to add them. But getting rid of hashtags is just another time that Elon has no idea how to run a social network. That is my opinion.
I imagine it has.
He wouldn't get rid of them.
I imagine it has less to do with Elon knowing how to run a social network than it has to do with Elon getting rid of people who did know how to run a social network.
That's true, because he has very few people that do.
If you were accessing Twitter from Sony PlayStations, that is going to apparently it's going to end. Sony PlayStations will be cutting off access to Twitter, something to do with having to pay like $42,000 to $210,000 a month for the API to allow users to
Yeah.
interface.
The big part of that, though, it wasn't just to raise money. He did that also to cut off research. So the people who researched got access for free, and he started charging them as well, so people can't access Twitter to research like they used to. So,
See, for this is like I think just a basic business lesson here. It does take a tremendous amount of resources to service people. To have an advanced programming interface that's an investment, and if you're making that investment, you're making it for a reason. Kristine just pointed out the research community. Researchers had free access to the API so that they could hoover through other people's research and get their jobs done a lot faster. The idea, of course, is they're going to share their research on Twitter and make Twitter a more interesting platform and environment to hang out in. Similarly, all these kids on Sony PlayStations, think of or on Xbox did this better last spring. Think of being able to share game scores or experiences, being able to share a new Minecraft world or something via links through Twitter. All the users you could draw that way, there's a reason to invest in the APIs and to let users use them. Even if it's for a nominal fee, but 210 a month, that's 210,000 to the organization that would allow their users to come. That's pricey.
Yeah, it is. It's very expensive, and yeah, unfortunately, it killed off a lot of research into like what's going on with Twitter. Like, what is it actually posting? What will the AI train on? Which they're probably doing that research right now.
Oh, I think we've lost Kristine.
I'm there. I'm sorry. I made a mistake. I'm at a hotel and tired. My phone rang and it was connected to my headphones.
Well, there you go. You're back again.
Yeah, so sorry. I always turn off my phone connection to my Bluetooth when we're on, and I forgot because I'm tired and I'm at a hotel, and so I apologize to everybody. So my phone rang through, so it happened. Okay. And it's my favorite person. Scam likely.
Spam call. Likely spam. Yeah.
Calls me every day. Yeah, like it calls me every day to check on me.
Okay, so we got one more fairly important story on AI actually. If you're using OpenAI, you might have noticed yesterday, and some of you still today, you're not able to use it. There's a DDoS attack happening on OpenAI services, and it's started yesterday. It's causing periodic outages for ChatGPT labs and Playground. Apparently, OpenAI implemented a fix yesterday, but there's still periodic outages happening today. Kristine, I would just think, I guess, given how many people use OpenAI and OpenAI products, would these services be distributed like? How do you do a DDoS attack on ChatGPT?
I'm actually not 100% sure how this attack is occurring, but it's anonymous Sudan hackers are claiming responsibility. Remember, though, when it comes to ChatGPT and even Bing, not that long ago, they're almost out of processors to run it, right? Because you can only scale up so much because of the type of processor you need. So NVIDIA, stock went like way up because they're the only ones making that product at the time. So my guess is that they're exploiting that limited ability because they only have so much processing power. Not like the web where, or like when we do a website and it's on a cloud and it has just another cloud instance keeps coming up, when you try to DDoS it. So that's possibly also possible. It's a simple case of they ramped up a whole bunch of, bots to like just input, and that was enough to do a DDoS because the same processing power limitations.
Well, again, apparently OpenAI has a bead on the fix. In fact, they implemented one last night, but the some form of the attack continues, and there's periodic outages being reported. If you see it happening, not your fault.
Also, Bard reported some outages too for the same reason on Wednesday. So it looks like maybe people are testing
how interesting.
The systems to see how they can attack them, which often happens. Like SEOs test how the Google algorithms work. People who hack like to test how all new things work. So that could be what's going on. Obviously, for us, we wanting to cause damage too, of course.
You don't often see Google SEOs figuring out how the Google algorithms work by attacking Bing.
I actually just gave me an idea how you could actually, but we will not talk about that.
We'll talk about that on our Black Hat show. So actually, we have
two. No one knows about it.
There are two other AI stories. We have a bunch of Google stories that we still got to cover too.
Okay. Oh yeah.
So there's two AI stories. This one again. This one just is mind-boggling when you think about the scale. OpenAI is offering to pay for ChatGPT customers. If you get sued for copyright using ChatGPT, OpenAI is offering to pay your bills, to pay your legal bills. Yeah, I'm not sure the circumstances, and I'm sure there have to be some circumstances in which some qualifying circumstances, but yeah.
There are. The qualifications are, it's called Copyright Shield. ChatGPT Enterprise, the business tier, developers using ChatGPT's application programming interface are covered. If you're just using the free version of ChatGPT or ChatGPT Plus, you are not covered. So, and it's not the first time anyone's done this. Like Google, Microsoft, and Amazon have done similar for their generative AI software. And Getty Images, Shutterstock, and Adobe have similar financial liability protection for image making software. But the choice here was, I don't want to take away the training information. I don't want to remove the copyright infringement. I'm just going to pay people their defense bills. It's kind of admitting, what you did wasn't a nice thing, right? It's like,
what gets me is there's obviously a scale thing that's happening here. It is cheaper because corporations do things because it benefits them. It saves them money. So somehow it's cheaper to litigate everything rather than limit or try to limit what what AI is, the corpus of information that the AI is learning from. So, because if you think about it, everything out there is potentially copyrighted. I wrote stuff for Ross Dunn at Stepforth years and years and years ago, and it got published and republished all over the place. But at the end of the day, Ross owned it when I wrote it. He sold it or gave rights to it to other people. They used it in their way, and then other people went and copied it. And I'm sure all that's been is all part of the corpus that AI is learning on, just like every other writer out there who had stuff published on the open web before 2022. All that stuff could be copyrighted. Where is it? What is it? Which information is it?
Also, it's not that OpenAI didn't know they were using copyrighted material. So this all stems from the lawsuit. There's actually three lawsuits against OpenAI for alleged use of copyrighted work in training the chatbot. Direct quote from The Guardian. So to create such software, they fed billions of lines of I can't speak today. Billions of lines of text from databases of tens of thousands of copyrighted books. So they knew the databases were of copyrighted materials. So, and this is people like George Martin, R.R. Martin. And I never watched that show because it was too bloody for me, but it looked really good. Jodi Picoult, John Grisham, they're all in the same lawsuit because what people have done is they've used ChatGPT to write books in their name and then put it on Amazon and sell them. And of course, they didn't write them. So that's where it came from. But the idea that instead of not training on that material or removing those trainings, they're just going to cover the lawsuits is just kind of insane. And also, I could think that part of that motivation is, as you and I both know, OpenAI put out a robots text command where you can tell it not to crawl you for training. And a lot of major companies have already put that on their websites. So they're going to be losing the ability to train on certain data. So I'm guessing they're thinking protect the data over all costs, and so we'll pay the piper.
And incidentally,
Kind of.
friends, you may want to be, especially people who are blogging their own content, their own information. You may want to think about putting a copyright bug on every page. I'm not a lawyer. I have no idea if that will protect you or not, but certainly wouldn't hurt to assert
Put
your rights to your own works.
and put the robots text on.
Oh, and put the
Then
robot text on, and
yeah,
yeah,
and also, just for anyone who's using these tools, we have to remind you, most every show, just so people know, is if you're creating things with these tools, they're not copyrightable. So if you're creating things that are like, I'm going to create my brand logo out of, Midjourney, it's not copyrightable. Anyone can take it from you, and you have no legal right to claim it. So you want to be careful what you're using this for your own stuff. So.
okay. This is not directly related to search or really even the tech industry, but it's we've been saying all along, as the Hollywood actors and the Screenwriters Guild strikes go, so does the use of AI in business, entertainment, in other forms of culture and business. Well, the Hollywood actors strike ended yesterday, a deal that will impact AI and streaming apparently for decades to come. Details are still the details haven't been fully released, but apparently the agreement mirrors what the writers got. And in relation to AI, the writers got concessions from the studios that artificial intelligence could not be used to create or to modify any literary content. And they also got they also have a guarantee that if the studios do use any AI material, that will be disclosed to writers. I guess ahead of the contract. So the actors got something similar. What that actually means, we don't know yet because details aren't available. But the strike is over. TV and really good streaming, the generation of amazing storytelling is coming back again.
Yeah, it's so nice to hear. I mean, unfortunately, we don't have a lot of details we can relay to the audience right now because there's just not a lot of details. But it does sound like they were able to negotiate proper payment from streaming as though it was like a regular series television show on the major networks. And I know some of the AI from the writers involved, like always being informed that there is AI, not being able to recreate somebody's script using AI or their tone or likeness. Like you can't take a Sorkin set of all the scripts he wrote and then create something that Sorkin didn't write. So things like that I know should be in there if they're following the Writers Guild. But it'll be interesting to see exactly what they decided on the AI portion, because exactly as we're saying, it's going to impact AI for decades. Because they were going to just take people who are famous and create like AI likenesses of them and then throw them into movies and stuff without compensation to the actors, which is just patently, I think, unfair. You should own your own likeness. So that's really good to hear. I'm really happy. And shows will be coming back, but don't expect them anytime real soon. It won't be until winter season, I'm sure.
They actually have to make them, and so
Yeah.
that does take a while. But
Yeah,
that also means that anybody who's in the industry, from set designers to script writers, actors, extras, people who
craft
make
services.
lunches, craft services, you're all going back to work.
Yay! And I have a friend who has been on the picket line every day, and he posts every day where he's at and what he's doing. And it's just been like really cool to see how they've all came together. And like he went down one day on stilts, dressed as somebody, I forget who. And they just made it like kind of a party down there on the picket lines, but they held their course, and they're going to protect all of us and our rights, and then protect all of us on the creative side. Because really, do you want to see regurgitated AI content all the time, which is they would do because they wouldn't have to pay anybody much? Or do you want to see like the brilliance of a Sorkin or R.R. Martin on the screen? Scorsese. I want to see that. So I'm really glad that they were able to do this.
Now that the Medillion cartel has been smashed, I don't know if we'll ever see the brilliance of a Sorkin ever again. Anyway.
I love Sorkin. Sorkin's dialogue is
and
just amazing.
Sorkin loved Coke. So there you go.
There
You know
you
what? I
go.
love Aaron Sorkin too, and I shouldn't
He does
recommend.
write like that, though. He does write like
Oh, he does. Run and talk, run and talk, run and talk.
that.
So the if you were going to get your review game on your website in order before Christmas, it's a little late for that. You should do it anyway. But the November 2023 reviews update started rolling out this morning. Oh, I'm sorry, started rolling out yesterday, somewhere around noon Eastern time. It used to be that Google every 6 months or so, Google would have another reviews update. That's not going to happen anymore. Now reviews is going into Everflux. So maybe they've kind of found the formula they want in reading reviews off of websites or reading reviews from increasingly from third party review gatherers like Yotpo and who gather, verify, and then put them on your website for you. Now review updates are just part of the algorithm, part of the Everflow algorithm. And so making changes to your website and getting your reviews out there, getting the schema updated and validating properly, that should give you, I'm not going to say it's going to be a boost, rank factor, but it should give you some benefit fairly quickly.
Well, and just to remind people that it usually takes Google about 3 months to run the system to update in the core. So like links, they don't update on the daily. They'll do a big like internal update every 3 to 4 months. So it might take that long to really see it. But I have mixed feelings about this. So like any update algorithms can take 80-90% of your traffic. So knowing there was an update is like hugely important.
Mm-hmm.
If it goes into the core, though, usually the effect is greatly minimized and they don't roll out like large updates. So, you may see a small effect from it, or you can go down 20% or 30%. And then you can figure out, oh, I probably have this issue. So hopefully that's how it works. Because if it works with the big drops and they're not announcing it, that would be very difficult. Because when you lose that much traffic, you really need to be able to identify pretty quickly what you did wrong. And Google Reviews Update is a site killer. So in the past.
It has been. And traditionally, the review update is you're either going to get rewarded big time or you're going to get smushed like a bug.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot in between. Now there's a lot in between. Again, this is part of Everflux, so it's just like it's much like much like Panda was, and that's now part of Everflux.
And Penguin, yeah, too. Like Penguin was one of the most destructive algorithms they ever released because the time to update was so long between. But once they did their last one, they really just boosted sites. They didn't demote sites, and then it went into the core, and now it just devalues your links. So, you've done something, generally speaking. Like, oh, all those links I purchased, maybe they were devalued. Like you can know that, and so it's not massively devastating. It's just, and you can rebuild your links quickly, which you couldn't do under the update version. So
that feeling when you're an SEO that you're a big that you're a big fake and that you don't know what you're talking about. All the self-doubt that comes from working in this industry, and then everybody has it. If you don't, then you're not living on the edge. Every once in a while, the world gives you the exact opposite as an SEO. It gives you complete vindication of the stuff you've been thinking. And even if the entire industry has said, nah, I don't think so for years, but for some reason your gut has held firm that this is how it actually has to be, and the whole industry has doubted you, a whole bunch of SEOs have known in their heart of hearts that click data was somehow used to figure it all out for Google. And Google's like, we don't use click data. What, are you crazy? That's too easy to be manipulated. We'd never touch that. As it turns out, well, Google, in its monopolistic glory, got itself in big trouble with the DOJ and had to open its hood and start talking about itself, which has traditionally made Google very uncomfortable. In fact, Google would buy people off. They would pay exorbitant sums in settlements to not go to court, to not reveal this stuff. But you can't buy off the American government. You just can't. Like they're much bigger.
Yeah.
There's no amount
You
of money
lobby
you can
ahead of
offer the
time.
DOJ.
No.
You can lobby ahead of time to get favorable people in the positions to make decisions. But once those decisions have been made, you can't bribe the DOJ to go away. You can't settle with them to just bugger off unless you're going to change your practices entirely. That's usually the settlement DOJ asked for. And so Google went to court instead. If you can't settle, bamboozle them. That's what my lawyer would say, right? And so Google goes to
But
court, or Google goes to hearings,
yes, yes.
and evidence comes out in court, including the fact that Google has been all this time using click data, not as a direct ranking factor, that would be too easy to manipulate, but as a means of validating user experience and how users feel about the validity of information they find on a page.
Yes.
And that's an important experience point for Google when deciding whether page A or page B should get the good ranking.
It's really important to like delineate here. So, because a lot of people are like, yeah, we knew, but they thought it's a direct ranking signal that you can manipulate by clicking your own website in the result. That is not what Google is saying.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, and the DOJ documents what they do, and RankBrain is a perfect example of how they used it. But what they do is they take millions of clicks in a search result, and they say like, oh, in this click we see that this answer, this I shouldn't say answer, but this result, this item, this URL we put in there, people aren't clicking on, they're pogo sticking in and out of, they're not hovering, whatever they're doing. The results to user interaction, and then they feed that back into the system. And if millions of people do that, then they turn around and go, let's change how we order these results. So it's like a resort kind of thing. It's not a ranking signal. It doesn't go back to your website and go, oh, you're not relevant, and like, we will not show you. So it doesn't do that, but it's about intent matching, things like that. And now they have two algorithms after scoring in the first sort that kind of handle that anyway, like RankBrain and neural matching. But RankBrain, when I first found it before it was announced, I tracked certain websites over years. And one of my favorite, or not over years before it was announced like 6-8 months. But one of my favorite results was in one of the talks I have done over the years is, since RankBrain, is suites in the United States. When you looked up suites in the United States, I think it was like year 2017 or 18, it had like Dr. Sweet Sweat, which was like something you rubbed on yourself at the gym. I've never actually tried to figure out what it was. Dentists, it had some candy, stuff like that. Then I went and spoke in the UK, and I looked there, and Sweets is a full page about candy and a knowledge graph about the caloric valuing candy and sugar and all that stuff. So their whole page result was about sweets as candy, because in the UK, sweets is a euphemism for candy. In the US where I live, it may be or may not be. So RankBrain put up different results, but over like a year or two, it got, because we have a lot of people in my area that come from other countries. And so over time, it became more about sweets, candy. And there's still a couple other results in there. When I last checked it, it was very much about candy. So that's how it works. It's like, we've got this, like, we're not really sure the intent. Localization plays heavily in here too. So we're not really sure the intent. And then users do things on the page, click or read or scroll or pogo stick or whatever they happen to do. Google takes all that data from millions of users, and then they keep refining the result that comes out of it. And that's what's in the DOJ documents. That's what the DOJ talks. If you look at the documents, that's what they're talking about. Not that because I know somebody who did this as a black hatter. They built a script that would go to the page and click on their result, and then it would like.
Well, no, that doesn't. That doesn't have a lot of effect. Nor does running a whole bunch of automatically running a whole bunch of keywords through Google and then clicking on your client's page. That doesn't have a whole bunch of effect either.
No, exactly.
Again, fairly easy to spot, but all of this came from a slide that was presented in the DOJ case called the 3 Pillars of Ranking. And this is an older site. It's contemporary information based on how Google's been doing stuff for years. So the 3 pillars of ranking: body, anchors, user interactions. Body, what the document says about itself, your content. Anchors, what the web says about the document, incoming links, stuff that people say, other businesses say about your website, user reviews, what the web says about the document. User interactions, what people do on the document, including all that click data, which, my God, they've been collecting it forever. Like, they're not going to use it for something.
Well, which by the way, people, the DOJ documents are from 2016. RankBrain was released in 2005. Gary at SMX said, I think it was 2017, might be 18, said that the three main ranking factors are content, links, and RankBrain. And what you basically are seeing in here is a representation not only of RankBrain, but of RankBrain. So when they said the three pillars are links, what did they say? Body. What were the exact words? Basically,
Body, anchor, user interactions.
Yeah, so content, links, and RankBrain.
Yep.
Basically what they're talking about in the DOJ documents.
And again, links, add user reviews to links as well when you're thinking about anchors. Google is really, really interested in what actual users of your products, what they have to say. So I'm including that under anchors now, and not just incoming links, but
and also,
do you think reviews will ever be as important as links?
No.
Okay.
Also with links, Gary moved it to it's not in the top 3 anymore. My guess is because it's content, RankBrain, neural matching, and links. because neural matching is kind of added after the RankBrain comment of it being the third most important one. One real quick thing that I have to say about these documents. Did you expect that internal documents from Google would look like they were made with paint from Microsoft?
I don't know. You know what? You're not the first person to notice that, eh? But it seems a lot of people are. And Smarty had something up about that as well. But no, I would think that people at Google would have more time, money, or talent to build better slides. Yeah.
Exactly. Oh, by the way, there's a very important slide that we didn't talk about real quick. And now this is 2016, before BERT, before all the advances in language modeling. But one of the slides says, we do not understand documents, we fake it. Our ability to understand documents directly is minimal. So we watch how people read the documents and memorize their responses. Click. So 1 billion times a day, people ask us to find documents relevant to a query. What's crazy is that we actually don't understand documents beyond some basic stuff. We hardly look at documents at all. We look at people interacting with documents, the links coming in, all that stuff. So if a document gets a positive reaction, we figure it's good. And if the reaction is negative, it is probably bad. This is from the slide. Grossly simplified, this is the source of Google's magic. They called it Google's magic. That ranked for a day on Twitter.
So do you think that was an impetus for BERT and for other for MUM for trying to understand user intent?
I think before BERT was revolutionary in that it not just that it allowed them to predict a masked word in forward or backward in a sentence and disambiguated, which it couldn't do before, but it greatly reduced the cost of processing. Using it before was so vastly expensive that they could never do it on all the search results. But BERT changed all that, and now it's more and more it's more and more, they've gotten the cost down. So, but at the time, they did what we did in basic SEO at the time. Your link said cat coming into the site. The page is probably about a cat. We know the title says cat. That's probably why titles were so important in the early days, because they didn't understand the page. So they used the title and the H1 to understand the page. I'm just guessing, but it makes sense, right? Because titles, remember back in the day, a title was so important, how you worded it, where the word went in the title, how long it was, everything. It would make the entire difference. And then you had to add EDs and S's and INGs, or it wouldn't understand that was the same thing. So that's before they went into the NLP version of Google. So I'm not saying this applies today, but I think it's fascinating that they literally state they have no idea what the page says, except minimally, which we're going to probably assume anchors, metas, and titles, or NH1s for what they're understanding about the page.
Okay, we are rounding out the hour. We have maybe 2 minutes left before the hour's up.
Mm-hmm.
Quick note. A sad note. Well, not sad actually. He's okay, but Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak suffered a minor stroke while attending a World Business Forum in Mexico City yesterday. He was hospitalized after fainting just before speaking. He was taken to the hospital and then promptly put on a flight back to California. He's back in the U.S. now, and hopefully hopefully he'll recover well. He's 73 years old, but one of the most important innovators in the history of computing. Not only started the home computer revolution in a garage in Cappuccino, California, but is also responsible for the flash drive revolution that has made digital storage almost free.
Yeah, he's so many amazing contributions to just how tech, how the internet, how website, everything was just born basically.
So, prayers to the Waz. Lastly, this is kind of a fun one. If you upgraded to do you use WordPress on your websites?
I
Use
do.
WordPress
I
very
primarily
much.
use WordPress. Yeah.
How about WordPress 6.4?
I have not upgraded yet because I have not had a chance to see if it worked.
Well, it works for some people. Apparently, it doesn't work for others. So
Not everyone.
if you're using a WordPress 6.4, which incidentally is codenamed Shirley,
I love that, surely.
if you're using the Oxygen page builder and using legacy templates with the Oxygen page builder, WordPress 6.4 may be crashing your website. And this is a bug with WordPress 6.4, the Oxygen page builder, and legacy templates. I believe you got to have the three of those things in combination to cause the crash.
Just the fact though that templates that aren't active are also causing the crash,
Oh yeah,
which is
thank you. I forgot to
fascinating.
mention that. You don't
Yeah.
actually, it doesn't have to be your active template. It could be ones that, people have like a half dozen in storage just to see how their page might look in a different template, but you never erase it after you've downloaded it. You might want to get rid of all of those that are just sort of sitting resident in your WordPress build.
Yeah, yeah, that's just a crazy thing that could make it crash. So very interesting. But yeah, definitely want to make sure that you're not crashing your WordPress because these are fatal errors. If you've ever had a fatal error in WordPress, it's the worst because you just get like a white screen of death, and you're like, "How do I get in there?" And it's like you can't. So you just have to go by FTP or something.
Okay, that's about it. I guess even the hotel room, the whole no new observations from Brighton SEO in San Diego, but it's amazing that you're there. What are you up to this afternoon? Do you have anything
Um,
planned?
I have a lunch with Mike Rian, which will be lovely,
Excellent.
and then I'm
Big
gonna
love to
walk
Mike.
some. Yes, then I'm gonna walk some talks, have a business dinner, and hopefully do karaoke tonight. They have a karaoke session if I get out of my business dinner early enough. But you know what? I just want to say before we go, I want to say for the Brighton SEO people, this is the kind of conference that I think we really need in the States. It feels old school. It feels welcoming. It's open. Everybody is just hanging out. There's no like, not that I'm saying another conference does this or anything, but I'm just saying for just in general in life, there's no ego. Like Kelvin is like walking around and talking to everybody. He's one who runs the conference, and all the staff is just so nice and helpful. And I think it just has that vibe of like a early conferences, and I think we need that in the industry so we, can talk to each other, and because social has made that difficult. And so I think being in person and having these conversations with people last night, were just great. No one blocked me. So I'm joking, of course, about social, but it's a really good environment. It's really chill. And I really hope that they decide to make the US a regular conference destination. I think they've done a really good job.
Well, there's really good feedback about Brighton SEO so far, Brighton SEO San Diego so far. So congratulations to all the Brighton SEO people and everyone who's attending. I'm jealous. I'm stuck up here in freezing old Canada while you're down there in nice warm San Diego.
Is it
Um,
beautiful?
yeah, it's a beautiful town. Um, Before we go, I want to say thanks to Darren Brandy and Ricky and Brasco in the studio, and also thanks to our sponsor, Audience Key. Um, that's it. We got full clock all the way around. So congratulations, Brighton SEO San Diego. I hope it's a great conference. Everybody else, be well, have a great week, rank well, be kind to each other. And on behalf of Kristine Schachinger from Sites Without Walls, this is Jim Hedger from Digital Always Media. We'll talk to you next week.
Bye, everybody.